Hello, this is Craig McCord with Mac BBQ. Today we're going to do a recipe for beef plate short ribs. Now typically in the past I've done short ribs, but they were the whole slab of like 4 bones that was cooked all together. Today's going to be a little bit different, and this recipe inspired by something I saw that Malcolm Reed did on his website, Barbecue Right. And I thought I'd try it today. It's going to probably take about a 4-hour cook, but I think it's going to be good, and I hope you stick around and see how it turns out. Okay, let's get started. Today we're going to use just plain brisket rub, nothing too fancy, just like I would do a brisket, which is mostly kind of a salt and pepper. I'm using kind of Killer Hog's brisket rub to do this, and we'll sprinkle these pretty good. They can handle some pretty good seasoning, and they're going to be, like I mentioned before, they're going to be on for about 4 hours. So we're going to season these up real good. On the side, I want to get the sides real good, and the backs. And some of this will come off in the braising period that we're going to do, and we'll go over what we're going to do there in just a minute. But we're going to cook this at about 275 degrees, probably total for about 3 hours before I put them in the braising liquid that is going to be made with celery, onions, carrots, beef broth, red wine, garlic, plenty of garlic, can't have too much garlic. And we're gonna let that all simmer together in the braising period, and then we will reduce that liquid down and for a little bit of a thickened sauce, if you will, very rich in taste. Also there'll be some tomato paste in it to give it some richness, and we'll see how that all turns out. But hang on, we're going to get the smoke going about 275 degrees, get these on there, and let them sit, and then we'll take a look at them after about an hour or so, see how they look. Then we can prepare our braising liquid, and we'll show you how to do that shortly. Okay, now let's take a look at how we're going to prepare the braising sauce. So we're going to start with some carrots. I got some baby carrots here, an onion, just a regular sweet onion, cut into about quarters, about 3 stalks of celery, 14.5 ounce can of tomato paste, 5 or 6 cloves of garlic, crushed garlic or more. I'm of the opinion you can't have too much garlic, but that's up to you. Rosemary, fresh rosemary preferred. Today I didn't have it, so I'm going to go with just some dry rosemary, a can of beef broth, and a half a bottle of red wine. I love cooking with wine, and sometimes I actually put it in the food, so today we're going to use about a half a bottle. And so we'll go ahead and pour the vegetables in. The beef broth, wine, let's see, we have to save a little bit for the cook. Alright, and we'll put in the tomato paste. This will help make it rich. Kind of a rich paste, garlic, and the rosemary. We'll go ahead and stir that around a little bit, just kind of get that tomato paste all mixed in there. And then after a couple of hours of cooking of the short ribs, we will put this on to heat it as well, so we don't end up putting the short ribs in kind of a cold mixture. So we'll get this good and hot, and then probably about the 3-hour mark, we will put the short ribs in this braising sauce and let it cook for probably about an additional hour, and we'll kind of check on it. But anyway, let it go, and we'll see what happens in just a short while. Okay, they've been on for not quite 2 hours yet. When we get to the 2-hour mark, we'll go ahead and put the pan of broth on here to heat up. Let it heat up to for about an hour. Then we'll put the ribs into the broth, seal it up, let it braise for about an hour, and that should be pretty close to being done. So we'll check it. We'll check it as we go. Okay, the ribs have been on now for a total of about 3 hours, and they're looking pretty good. So now it's time to go into the broth that we mixed together earlier. Now I placed the broth in the foil pan covered on the smoker, and I wanted to set them next to the ribs so that for that last hour, so that they could kind of come up to temperature, because you don't really want to place ribs in a cold broth. Now they're looking pretty good, and the broth looks thick and rich, so I wanted to arrange the ribs somewhat evenly in the pan, at least the best I could. Now, as you can see, the foil is kind of torn, a little bit torn, so I'll place some fresh foil and tightly cover, and then the ribs will now braise for about another hour. Well, they're all done. After an hour, I probed the meat, and it was between 203 and 205 degrees IT. That's perfect. And here you see the finished product. It's very rich and served over some mashed potatoes. Bon appetit.